channels in that downlink reference signals. So can anyone tell the types of eMBPS transmission? Types of eMBPS transmission which we have discussed yesterday. That is enhanced MBMS, enhanced multimedia broadcast and multicast services. Two types we have studied yesterday. Can anyone tell? ಗೊತ್ತಿಲ್ವಾ? Nobody knows. ಗೊತ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ವಾ? ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಿ, ತೇಜಸ್ವಿನಿ, ನೇತ್ರ, ಲಾವಣ್ಯ, ತೇಜಶ್ರೀ, ವೈಷ್ಣವಿ, ವಿಶಾಲ್, So the two types of eMBS transmissions are single cell transmission and multi-cell transmission. So there are three different types of downlink reference signals. So can anyone tell what are the types of downlink reference signals? Anyone? By voluntarily no one will respond. By calling names also no one will respond.
Sir,
Yeah, Pranav.
cell specific reference signals,
Okay.
MBSFN reference signals, UE specific reference signals. These are there, sir.
Very good. So today we'll study the synchronization signals. So we are at the end of the third module. Only two concepts left out. So one is the synchronization signals and HIRQ in the downlink. So by today's class we'll finish it off the third module. So here the synchronization signals, the downlink synchronization signals are sent to facilitate the cell search procedure. So during which process the time and frequency synchronization between the UE and the E node B is achieved and the cell ID is obtained. So here there are total 504 unique physical layer cell IDs which are grouped into 168 physical layer cell ID groups. So here a physical layer cell ID is uniquely defined as, so that is NID cell is equal to 3 NID power 1 plus NID2. So where NID1 represents the physical layer, cell ID group, and NID2 represents the physical layer ID within the cell ID group. So here each cell is a unique physical layer cell ID. So here the synchronization cells are classified as two different types. One is primary synchronization signals, that is PSS, and the second one is secondary synchronization signals, that is primary and secondary synchronization signals, that is SS, triple S. So here in the primary synchronization signals, the signals are identify the symbol timing and the cell ID index, that is NID2. So in the secondary synchronization signals, so these signals are used for detecting the cell ID group index, that is NID power 1, and the frame timing. So here the secondary synchronization signal can only be detected after the detecting the primary synchronization signal. So here the synchronization signals are designed in such a way to make the cell search procedure fast and for the low complexity. So here we have designed synchronization signals in such a way to make the cell procedure fast and the lower complexity. So here the sequence used for the primary synchronization signal is generated from the frequency domain, that is Zadoff-Chu sequence. So here a Zadoff-Chu sequence possesses the constant amplitude zero autocorrelation, that is CAZAC property, which means the low peak to power average power ratio, that is PAR ratio. So here this property is described for the synchronization signals as it improves the coverage, which is the important design objective for the synchronization signals. So here there are three different root sequences indices corresponding to cell indices, that is NID 2, which is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. So which makes the primary synchronization signals for the different cell IDs orthogonal to each other. So here the sequence is used for the secondary synchronization signal is an interleaved concatenation of the two length 31 binary sequences. So here the sequences are used for secondary synchronization signals are interleaved concatenation of two lengths of 31 binary sequences. So here two base sequences are cyclic shifts of the M sequence with shifts specified by the cell ID group index, that is NID power 1. So which are scrambled with a scrambling sequence which is specified by the value of NID power 2. So here therefore the secondary synchronization signals can only detect after detecting the primary synchronization signal. So here the secondary synchronization signals only will be detected after detecting the primary synchronization signals. So here the usage of length 31 sequences make it feasible to detect all the 168 cell ID groups. So here both the primary and secondary synchronization signals are transmitted on the 62 subcarriers centered around the DC subcarrier with 5 reserved subcarriers on either side in the frequency domain. So there are total 72 subcarriers occupied by the synchronization signals. corresponding to the most narrow bandwidth supported by the LTE, that is 1.4 megahertz. So both the primary and the secondary synchronization signals are transmitted on the 62 subcarriers which are centered around the DC subcarrier, with the 5 reserved subcarriers on the either side in the frequency domain, so that there are total 72 subcarriers which are occupied by the synchronization signals and corresponding to the most narrow bandwidth which is supported by the LTE, that is 1.4 megahertz. So in the time domain, both the primary and the secondary synchronization signals are transmitted twice per 10 millisecond in the predefined slots. So here in the time domain, so here both the primary and the secondary synchronization signals were transmitted twice per the 10 milliseconds in the predefined slots. So here the primary signal sequences transmitted in both the slots are the same, so that they can be used to detect the symbol timing but are unable to detect the frame timing. So here we are transmitting primary signals on both signal sequences in both the slots are the same, so they can be used to detect the symbol timing but are unable to detect the frame timing. So here for the secondary synchronization signals, so here the combination of two length, that is 31 sequences, which will sequences differs between these two slots. So here the sequences pair, that is D1 comma D2 is defined, then D2 comma D1 is not allowed. So only the sequence pair D1 comma D2 is allowed, but D2 comma D1 is not allowed. So with this property, the frame timing can be determined from the secondary synchronization signal. So here for the frame structure type 1, so the primary and secondary synchronization signals are mapped to the last and the second to last OFDMA symbols in slot 0 and slot 10. So in the frame structure type 1, so the primary and secondary signals are mapped to the last and second to last OFDMA symbol in the slot 0 and slot 10. So here you can look at this figure, though this is the mapping of primary and secondary synchronization signals with OFDMA symbols for the frame structure type 1 and type 2 with the normal CP. So here P and S denotes the primary synchronization signal and secondary synchronization signals. So from 0 to 19 is one radio frame. So in that 0 and 1 is one subframe, 0 is one slot. So these are the OFDMA symbols. So here P is the primary synchronization signals, S is secondary synchronization signals. So make a note of this figure, everyone. completed. So here in the frame structure one, so the primary and secondary signals are mapped to the last and the second to the OFDMA symbols in slot 0. This is slot 0 and slot 10, which is mapped to the slot 0 and slot 10. So in the frame structure type 2, so the primary synchronization signals is mapped to the third OFDMA symbol in slot 2 and 12. Slot 2 and 12. So here primary synchronization is mapped in third OFDMA symbol, that is slot 2. You can look at this. This is P primary synchronization, and slot 12, that is so, and the secondary synchronization signals is mapped to the last OFDMA symbol in slot 1. So here slot 1 is mapped, secondary synchronization mapped to the OFDMA symbol in the slot 1 and in the slot 11. So here the difference in the location of the synchronization signals enables the user equipment to detect the duplex mode of the cell. So this is about mapping the primary and secondary synchronization, resource mapping of the synchronization signals. Everyone clear? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
What about others? So okay, next we have HARQ in the downlink. So here in the wireless network, due to the effects of channel fading and interference from the neighboring cells, so it is nearly impossible to guarantee the error-free transmission, no matter how robust the channel coding is. So here the coding rate decreases, the transmission becomes more robust, but at the same time power efficiency is lost. So that is the significant amount of power is used to transmit a few bits of information. So here we are using the elegant approach to solve this problem is to use the HARQ protocol, which combines the FEC and retransmission with the single framework. So here the HFSA system, in the same case, so the LTE both type 1, that is the channel chase combining, that is CCHRQ, and type 2, that is incremental redundancy. Here HARQ schemes have been defined. So here the HARQ operation is part of the MAC layer, while the physical layer handles the soft combining. So here it is an acknowledged process in the LTE for a received error packet. So in this case in this case of LTE, both type 1, that is chase combining, and HARQ, and type 2, that is the incremental redundancy, that is IR HRQ schemes have been defined. So here the HARQ operation is a part of the MAC layer while the physical layer handles soft combining. So here at the receiver part, so here the turbo decoding is first applied to the received code block. So here if a retransmission, so if this is a retransmission which is indicated by the DCI, that is a downlink channel indicator. Sorry, downlink control information. So here the code block will be combined with the previously received versions for decoding. So if there is no error, detected in the output of the decoder, an ACK signal is fed back to the transmitter through the push physical PUCCH physical channel, and the decoded block is passed to the upper layer. So otherwise, an NAK signal is fed back and the received code block is stored in the buffer for the subsequent combining. So here at the receiver, what we are doing is turbo coding is first applied on the received code block. So here if this is a retransmission which is indicated in the DCI. So here the code block will combine with the previously received versions for the decoding. So if there is no error detected in the output of the detector, so here an ACK signal is fed back to the transmitter through the PUCCS physical channel, and it is decoded, and then the decoded block is passed to the upper layer. So otherwise an NCK, that is NCK signal is fed back to the received code block which is stored in the buffer for the subsequent combining. So at the transmitter, so for each transmission or retransmission, the same turbo encoded data is transmitted with the different puncturing. So each of these transmission or retransmission has a different redundancy version, and each is self decodable. So here puncturing is performed during the rate matching process. So here the rate matcher can produce 4 different redundancy versions of the original coded block. So here HARQ transmissions are indexed with the redundancy version, that is RVIDX. So which indicates whether it is a new transmission, that is RVIDX is equal to 0, or the RVIDX ith retransmission. So that is RVIDX is equal to 1, 2 or 3. So here the time interval between the two successive HARQ transmissions, which is typically 8 millisecond in the LTE. So here the N-channel stop and wait protocol is used for the downlink HARQ operation. So here an N-channel stop and wait protocol consists of N parallel HARQ processes. So here when one or more of the processes are busy waiting for the HARQ, ACK or NAK. So here the processes that are free can be used to transmit the other transport blocks. So here the maximum of HIRQ process in the downlink is determined by the UL and DL configuration. So I have it is having one table. I will draw it through the whiteboard. Wait for a minute. So here this table is the maximum number of downlink HIRQ process for the TDD mode. So here we have TDD, UL or DL configuration. So here we have maximum number of HIRQ process. So here we have seven configuration. That is 0 to 6, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 configurations. We have different TDD configurations. So here the maximum number of HIRQ process. So for the 0 configuration we have 4 HIRQ processes. So for one configuration we have 7. For 2 configuration TDD mode we have 10 HIRQ processes. So for configuration 3 we have 9 HIRQ process. So for configuration 4 we have 12. For configuration 5 we have 15, and for configuration 6 we have maximum number of HIRQ processes. So here which is specified in this table, so which ranges from 4 to 15. So here each HIRQ process is associated with an HIRQ process ID. When the spatial multiplexing is used, both the transport blocks are associated with the same HIRQ process. So So here we have one more figure. That is an example of 10 millisecond frame with the 8 HRQ processes. I will draw that figure. I will make a note of that figure. So it is having a 10 milliseconds frame. So here HARQ, that is process here, first process 1, that is we'll write it as hash 1. So next we have same, that is process hash 2. Similarly we have process 3, that is hash 3. So we have process 4, process 5, process 6, we have process 7, process 8. Again it will repeat process 1, process 2. Because we are using a 10 millisecond frame. Here this is TTI 1 to TTI 10. So here this is 1 millisecond TTI, 1 millisecond TTI, TTI. So this is 10 millisecond frame. So this is first transmission. So and this is second transmission. So here this is HARQ, that is ACKR, NAK. For the HRQ process hash 1. For HARQ process hash 1. So here this figure shows a 10 milliseconds frame with the TTI index 1 transmitting the HRQ process 1. So here TTI index 2 transmitting the HARQ process 2, and so on. So here HARQ, ACKR, NAK for the HRQ process 1 is received in the TTI index 5. So in the TTI index 5 we are received the HRQ process 1. So then the TTI index 9 So the HARQ process 1 is transmitted again. Either a new transmission is if an ACK is received, or retransmission if NAK is received. So here the LTE downlink applies the synchronous HARQ protocol. So where the HARQ processes can be transmitted in any order without fixed timing. So therefore the example, so here the retransmission of HRQ process 1 does not necessarily occur in the 9th TTI. So here the synchronous HRQ makes it possible to reflect channel quality measurements at the instance of retransmission, which is able to provide a higher throughput with the rescheduling or changing the modulation and coding scheme. So which is called as adaptive HARQ. So here in addition to the asynchronous operation, makes it possible for the E node B to provide the potential collision of HARQ retransmission with other high priority scheduled transmissions such as persistent scheduling. So here the asynchronous HARQ requires more overhead as the receiver does not know ahead of time what is being transmitted and when the retransmission occurs. So here to support the asynchronous HARQ in the downlink, so here the PDCCH contains the field indicating the HARQ processes number and the current redundancy version. So here the maximum number of HARQ retransmission of the each transport block is configured by the radio resource control, that is the radio resource control layer, RRC layer. So here when the maximum number is reached without a successful transmission of the transport block or the transmission in the error due to the error in HARQ. So here the ACK signaling, a radio link control layer ARQ protocol will be triggered to handle the error event. So this is about HARQ in the downlink channel. So everyone clear with HARQ? ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is the end of your third module.